Okay, well, thank you all for taking the time to meet with us today. We're definitely talking about some things I think will help everybody. It's a case that, yeah, we'll be talking a bit about. First of all, we'll talk about what is this automation, marketing automation concept, and then we'll be talking about how it solves some real problems in senior living, and then we'll talk a bit about how as organizations, we can work together to accelerate buyer journeys. So first of all, just talk a little bit about this topic of what is marketing automation. And really, the key word here being marketing. I think we all face marketing challenges. And if we think about why we're marketing, we're again working to try to attract attention to our products and services, and through that, our marketing teams are working tirelessly to engage with people, and due to some of the unique things that have happened to us in the past couple of years, COVID, it's definitely been very challenging. And I think that we all share common challenges when it comes to marketing. And I think the biggest challenge, especially in light of COVID, definitely the high touch marketing, where we're actually shaking hands and talking to people directly, has definitely been put in the back burner. So we've been focusing on moving to digital marketing. And with digital marketing, the biggest challenge we all face is that people typically do not trust and they shouldn't trust all the time, what they see online. Like my background, I spent a lot of time at trade shows, and trade shows, it's a big booth, and there's lots of people with branded clothing. It's fairly hard to fake that. But as we all know, it's very easy to fake things online. So trust is absolutely the biggest challenge when it comes to using digital marketing. And what's interesting in all of our efforts trying to help or accelerate the buyer journeys, we end up stepping on ourselves. We erode trust by inconsistent messaging or inconsistent response times, even inconsistent branding, which is a big one as well. And every time we do these types of things, people, they start questioning: is this real? Are these people actually offering something of high value? And let's face it, marketing requires a lot of work, right? About 90% manual effort and 10% creative. I know any marketers on the phone that decided to become marketers. There was the vision that it was really a creative outlet, but let's face it, there's a lot of work that has to be done. A lot of the work is repetitive, and then we have to actually communicate to the constituents whose budget we're spending when we're doing the marketing. And the old adage, there's 24 hours in the day, but if that's not enough, let's work all night, right? And this is also further complicated by some significant staffing issues that we're all facing, right? It's a case that we're, I think, across the board, and we'll be talking about that today, is that it's been very difficult to retain not just customers, but also great employees. And so there's not enough people to do the work, and we're all doing this manually. And whenever we do manual effort, there's going to be mistakes, right? Because we're juggling, wearing lots of different hats, lots of different competing priorities. And if we're doing the work ourselves by hand, let me tell you, there is going to be mistakes. And then the last challenge, and this is universal, and we all want this, is we want to know what's working and what's not, right? No matter what we're doing, clearly we don't want to continue climbing a mountain or walking down a difficult road that leads to nowhere, right? We want to see what we're doing right and see what we're not, that could be improved. And so we can do less of what's not working and more of what's working. And especially when there's money involved, right? Especially when we're spending marketing budgets, right? We want to understand where the limited dollars are, and we all know this. We don't have unlimited budgets for marketing. So we want to know what's working and what's not, and how it applies to the actual spend that and effort that we're putting into the marketing activities. Now, the solution, I argue, is to automate. And really this term of automation, it doesn't actually have its roots in marketing. It has its roots in manufacturing. And really what automation did for manufacturing is it transformed the role of people from laborers to information workers, right? From brawn to brains. So really this concept of automation or automatic control, automatic execution is really used for, same story in marketing, is it's used for, again, trying to abstract out the manual labor so that if we do something that requires effort, that we let the machines do it the second time and the third time. And so it says here that on this, it removes manual effort. It actually allows you to reuse manual effort. And of course, it's reducing cost because now we can focus on being more creative and optimizing. It takes us less time to get things done is the reality. And just like in manufacturing, is that it improves quality, accuracy, and precision, and consistency, et cetera. And real idea here is if we're doing multi-channel marketing, is that a nice benefit of marketing automation is that it actually helps, it collects a lot of data and transforms it into information so that we can, of course, do a better job as marketers. And it really transforms the role of the marketer as a person from doing administrivia and labor to actually being able to focus on being creative. So really the definition of marketing automation, and this is my definition of it, is that it's really the use of tools and technology to effectively execute multi-channel sales and marketing initiatives using automatic execution, some type of a mechanism for doing, again, you put out labor in and it continues doing that labor, trigger-based, et cetera. Now, when I talk about tools, those marketers on the phone today will probably be very familiar with pictures like this, right? Where, okay, let's just go buy tools. So the important message with automation is it's typically not aggregating a lot of different tools that are, that are not connected directly. And this actually, my background's in process control, is that it went through an evolution as well, where there's little islands of automation, little tools, and then along comes a distributed control system that ties it all together. So really my message here is that taking the multi-tool approach, yes, all the tools are fantastic, but the problem, and really it leads to the problems with automation, is one, is we want to get the robot out of the room, right? We want to be able to communicate with our prospects and in a way that makes them feel special and a personal engagement. And with this picture, what's missing is actually the prospect. The prospect is spread out amongst all the different tools. So it makes it very difficult for us to maintain consistent messaging, consistent branding, consistent communication times, and for us, really being able to analyze and understand the buying journey, right? Spread out amongst all the different tools. So the idea of having a marketing automation platform, which is a consolidation of several tools in one platform based on tracking, right? So really this concept is called a MAP, or a marketing automation platform, and it is a single piece of software that's designed to pull together a lot of different tools that will allow the marketer to, one is automate many of the pieces, be able to leverage data that is, maybe somebody talks about something on the phone, maybe they engage with an ad, maybe they clicked an email. All of these different touch points allows them to consolidate to get a unified picture of the prospect and their journey. And part of this concept of a marketing automation platform is that it enforces best practices, right? It enforces the process that we're using for execution. And so yes, it's a central database that manages our workflows, our prospect tracking, and allows us to measure what's working and what's not. And speaking about measure, just like my background being in process control, the benefit of adding automation to the manufacturing process is that there was some fantastic data being produced, and the ability of the manufacturing systems to be able to aggregate the data and transform it into actionable information, hence back to my original comment about it transforming the role of people from laborers to information workers. Same goes for marketing automation platforms, as they as well have the ability to consolidate and all aggregate all of this data and transform it into actionable information for us people as part of the process. So I'm just going to hand things over to Crystal here, and she'll start talking about how this applies specifically to senior living.
Hi, everybody. Hi, Sean. Thank you so much for having me here today. I'm really looking forward to this topic and kind of diving into how automation can support the senior living industry specifically. I think initially the senior living industry was a little slow to jump on board with automation. We're still growing, and it was basically used for email blasts, and we'll get there and talk about that here. But really with automation, if you have an automation platform, or if you're looking to obtain an automation platform, really what we can do is get creative with this technology in the senior living industry. And one of the things that we can do is look at our buyer personas here. Because in the senior living industry, the way we communicate to our prospective residents or the adult child influencer is going to vary and be different. And we need to cater our messaging and our timing based on who is looking or who is interested in our community. And the way we do that is a couple ways. One of my top recommendations, I see everybody is using a sales database, which is great. That's on the call today. I was happy to see that. Not everybody has automation, but it's key to have those two systems working together and to have a deep integration. That way, the systems can work together to help you know what your buyer persona is. So this is an example. This is Sarah Smith. She's in her mid-50s, which would probably tell me that she's an adult child influencer. Maybe she's come to my website or she's inquired and I've entered her into my CRM. I'm gathering information on her and her online behavior. So with this information that I'm now gathering, I can be very specific on how I want to communicate with her and what timing I want to communicate with her, in hopes that we can build that brand awareness, establish our community, our organization as the leaders, and why in our emails, versus just sending out big chunks of email blasts to a big group of people. We want to be specific.
Yeah, so I'll talk about these two pieces of software. Like Crystal mentioned, everybody most people on the call today have some type of a sales database. And so I just want to talk about how marketing automation and the sales database, what roles they play together. So we all know about the sales CRM, and the sales CRM is where our salespeople are actively engaged, helping people with the process of buying. Right, it's a typically high contact process. And we know about the sales funnel because there's way more people at the top of the sales funnel who the salespeople are engaged with than those people that actually move in. Now, superimposed on top of the sales funnel, there is this concept of a marketing funnel. So the marketing funnel, of course, is much larger. So really, if we think about a marketing automation platform and how it relates to a sales platform, the marketing automation platform, like our platform is ActiveDEMAND, is a marketing automation platform. It would be the tool used by marketers for applying pressure to a large population of people with the intent of accelerating buyer journeys. Now, in this diagram, it would be what I call the system of record, or the data master for everybody that is not yet ready for sales engagement. And once people respond favorably to the marketing activities, they cross this boundary, and then it is pushed into the CRM and handed off to the sales organization. Now, in this diagram, I argue when that event occurs, the CRM must become the data master or system of record. And why I say that is that up here, it is actually typically built on inference and assumption. But here, it's people talking to people. And if people are talking to people and the software they're using to capture that information is the CRM, like for example, ElderMark Sales CRM, then clearly the most accurate data in this diagram would be in the CRM. And then anything that happens in the CRM, really it needs to be immediately reflected into the marketing stack. And why? Well, us marketers, we always want to have the most accurate data possible, but also there's tons of opportunity for things like automation during this part of the buying process. And and I'm not going to pick on salespeople here, but most sales folks are, you know, they're highly motivated to help people with buying decisions. And they're very, very mindful of their time. They typically don't like to spend a lot of time learning software. So quite often the automation in the process will be handled by marketing folks who are really good with tools. So with this scenario of this transfer of ownership and this reflective nature of data from the CRM to a marketing stack, it really allows, it supercharges a sales and marketing organization to really be more efficient. And the real benefit of this story is actually the prospects, right? So pass things back to Crystal.
Thank you, Sean. Yeah, makes perfect sense. And I put this slide in here for utilizing custom fields because this is one of my favorite parts when we are implementing a new customer into automation. And, you know, taking a look at that CRM and to Sean's point, the data that we have in that master record to be able to really target our messages, as I said before. So you'll see I said generic email blasts are out and thoughtful targeted messaging is in for the senior living industry. And although generic email blasts are still useful in your automation platform, maybe to communicate with residents or family members about upcoming events and things like that, thoughtful targeted messaging is really where we need to be spending our time if we're hoping to increase our occupancy. So it's very important that your automation has a deep integration with your CRM. So we can use these custom fields or information that we have about our potential buyers to really hone in and target them and accelerate, as we've said before, that buyer journey, and to establish us as the leaders in the industry. So how can we do that? What are some tactics? Occupancy growth tactics. So every senior living industry every senior living community is different. They have different needs. They have different challenges. I think as a whole, occupancy right now in recruitment is, of course, top of mind and big concern. And occupancy will always be something that senior living providers are focused on. But how can we increase our occupancy with the data that we know? Sometimes there are different issues in every community. We can't just look at it anymore as a big, oh, well, let's fix our occupancy and do some automation. We really need to look at the CRM and see where the room for growth is, where the opportunity is, and what data we have in our system to cater our messaging and target our potential prospects. So let's go on. We're going to take a little deeper dive into each one of these. These are some of my favorite tactics here that we do with occupancy. So what we like to do and what I would encourage you all is to, if you're not familiar or in your sales CRM on a daily or weekly basis, get in there and start looking at some trends and see what's happening with your occupancy. Hopefully you've set some goals. If you haven't, I would highly recommend setting goals for the year and where you want to be. So if we are far off from our goal, if we're looking at our forecast and we can see that we're going to have upcoming move-ins or there's funnel leakage somewhere, what are we going to do to increase that? One of the things I like to look at is length of stay. So it could be that when we're looking at occupancy and lead generation, we're getting all the leads coming to our system. They're coming from the website, they're maybe coming from vendors. They are making it into the CRM, and we're tracking where they're coming from. But maybe we look at length of stay and we have a problem with how long they're staying. In this case, in this graph, it's showing that our length of stay is less than 3 months, and then very small for 3 to 6 months. So looking at that type of data now, we can be very mindful of how we're going to set up our automation communications. So here we might look at this and say, okay, we have the back door is not closed, the front door is wide open, and we have a good funnel of people coming in. Our digital marketing is working. So what are we going to do? How can we use automation to help close that back door? One of the things automation can do here is we can send out surveys automatically the moment that prospect converts to a resident. Maybe we're going to send it within the first 2 weeks, and then again in a month. Maybe we want to target that adult child influencer to see how their experience is going with mom and dad moving into the building, or target the resident themselves and hear their feedback. That way we can be proactive versus reactive with the information we're receiving. And again, this relieves the salesperson at the community for trying to solve these occupancy barriers. So now the salesperson can stay sales focused on getting those people to convert who are coming in the door. And the automation is giving us the information that we need to maintain our occupancy. And I'm not relying on a person to have to do that communication for me. So it's one of my favorite things to take a look at. And it's just an example. I mean, there is a wide array of issues and things that can happen in a community, but looking at length of stay is one of the creative ones I like to take a peek at. Another great data point that is used very successfully for automation communication, and I would say it's an absolute must, that automation in your CRM are communicating this information to each other. So you might get it from a web form dropdown, care level, or interest level. And the reason that this is so important is because our industry is very unique. And the fact that when our prospective prospects or family members look to purchase, this is an emotional buy. They have to feel connected to your community. We can't ever take away that person-to-person relationship, and we don't want to. But we have to understand what it is that they're looking for. So if the care level is memory care versus independent living versus assisted living in the record, we need to communicate with them in a different way. As we all know, typically somebody looking for memory care is in a crisis situation or is anticipating a crisis situation coming up. Their sales cycle usually is much shorter, excuse me. And so we want to use automation to maybe communicate with them more frequently. Also maybe provide education. And back to Sean's slide where he talked about building that trust, he's right. They don't believe anything online yet. They need to get to know us, and our messaging can help do that. But if we're doing just email blasts to everybody and we're not paying attention to the care level that they're interested in or their needs, and we don't know that buyer persona, it's going to slow that sales cycle. So the minute they turn memory care, we need to be communicating with them in a different way versus independent versus assisted. And then same with prospect level, or prospect by interest level, same kind of thought process there. Now everybody just defines interest levels in a different way, and that's completely fine. A hot lead might be to you moving in 2 weeks. I have some people that think a hot lead is moving in within 30 days, and that can change. But it's important to gather that information, again, so we can determine who is the closest to conversion and how can I help my sales team close that lead and get to the next step. And then
Also,
one more, yeah, go ahead. Thank you, Sean.
I was going to add to this too, is that you're mentioning the connection to the actual facility. It's, if we're using any type of automation or communications, I mentioned in my slide about brand consistency and communication consistency. It's important if you're using automation that you're actually using as much of the location information in all of the communications. So they're not thinking about, oh, mom's moving into, you know, Shady Acres Inc. They're moving into that physical location with these specific people, and they're going to be taken very good care of. So it's very important to think about the branding when you're using the communication to really bring in the location specific information during the communications. Go ahead, Crystal.
Thank you. Yes, that's exactly right. And that's what automation can help with. So it is so important to make sure that your branding's on track or consistent, so they don't get confused, and it feels more personable too. One other thing I wanted to mention here too is if you have your custom fields integrated to your automation platform, another tactic that I like to take a look at is the lost prospects or the lost reasons. Maybe you are losing them to competitors or for financial reasons. So now we can target those people specifically to let them know, because as we know in senior living, the grass isn't always greener on the other side, as some of our prospects think. Or you might be offering move-in specials to those group of people directly because, you know, maybe you were outpriced or something like that. So we can look at that data and then again be very specific in who we're targeting to help that sales team close convert more prospects to residents. And now we're going to talk about our hot topic right now, marketing automation for recruitment. This is fairly new since you know, our COVID struggles have really hurt the senior living industry. We've been hit hard. I think we've all probably on the call heard the Great Resignation that's happened in our industry. We did an article, ELDERMARK Software did a white paper article with Senior Housing News, and I highly recommend all of you to take a look at that article. We'll be sharing a QR code coming up here soon. So get your phones ready if you're interested to take that QR code and look at the housing article that we did. But the statistics are alarming. There's been a 70% increase in staff challenges. So as you guys can see here on this slide, a new survey from National Investment Center for Seniors Housing, NIC, found that challenges due to staff turnover increased from 53% in the summer to 70% just this last December. And then I think, you know, nobody's shocked by these statistics, because I think we're all feeling it, and we're experiencing major burnout. And so why did I put this slide here? Because I feel that this is one of the things that gets overlooked. If you do have an automation platform, it's typically used for prospect or lead nurturing in our industry, but it actually can be a really powerful tool to increase your recruitment efforts and your staffing at your buildings, because we can't grow our occupancy unless we are fully staffed to care for the people in our buildings. So here is the QR code, as I had mentioned, to our Senior Housing News article here. So I'll give you guys a minute if you want to grab your smartphone and scan that QR code to learn more about driving staffing and occupancy and the technology available. And then again, this is just backing up what Sean has mentioned before, but I want to reiterate it because this is directly in line with recruitment. Again, these potential employees don't trust anything online, especially if we have inconsistent messaging, inconsistent response time, inconsistent branding, just like we've been talking about. It really is the same you know, philosophy that we need to think about here. Since staffing is such a critical issue, we have to hire the right person and not the right now person. And I love that statement, because what that means, directly related to automation, is that we can really start to get to know these potential employees for our organization. Who are the best candidates? What is their behavior online? And are we building trust for them so we are going to be the place where they want to work? Because the competition is fierce now in senior living with trying to get good talent. And not just getting good talent to come in and work for us, it does take a special person in this industry, but also to help keep them. So who are those people, and how can automation help us? And then attribution. So how can we improve our hiring process? And we want to execute, measure, and improve. And what does that mean? Let's talk about that. Yep, we're going to automate for recruitment.
Yes, that's exactly right. And I think it's like, I know we ourselves use this a lot. And why is that, like, if you think about even in your life experience, looking for a job, and you put a bunch of resumes, and maybe somebody responds, but then what's happening? Do they want me? You know, and we actually use the automation to ensure that we maintain consistent communication to our prospective, you know, employees, and that they always know exactly where they are in the process, and that they're coming into a company that is, you know, will treat them just like in the concept of a customer, that they are truly coming into a community that they can thrive in. So automation, same story I hear, is that it helps significantly.
Absolutely. So how can marketing automation be utilized to attract and retain new talent? Well, we need to start at the top with your digital marketing recruitment tactics. There are many different things you can do online: geofencing, geofarming. You know, they might be coming to your website and fill out that they are interested in employment on that web form. However we're gathering that information, or that first point of contact, we can have that sync straight into the automation platform, and then start tracking their behavior and online engagement. And then from there, we can send automatic text and email campaigns to those potential candidates, similar as we would do to a prospect, really to establish us as the place to work, and you know, give that messaging on why they need to come work for us, versus just having them fill out a resume on Indeed. Maybe we send out some emails to them and the ball kind of gets dropped, or they get moved over to your competitor. So automation can be really helpful in that way. Let's kind of dive in to exactly how automation can help here. So this is an example workflow of a recruitment communication workflow. And this is in regards to text messaging. So text messaging campaigns are becoming more and more popular and effective. And I would think because, you know, yeah, that's the trigger that Sean was kind of pointing at there, is we're gonna thank you for your interest right there at the beginning, is an SMS text. And then we're gonna add them to the recruitment list, and then you can see from there the decisions. But what's happening in the senior living industry is maybe you're using digital marketing tactics to, maybe you need a dining room person, or you need a front desk receptionist, or you need a nurse, whatever that may be. Typically right now is a younger generation that we're targeting for some of those entry-level positions. And we're trying to vet and see, you know, who has that special quality that we all look for in senior living. There is a special group of people that are going to be successful in senior living, and how do we find those people? And what do we know about this younger generation too? They're on their phones all the time. So emails are great, but if we can get them communicating via text messaging, that's even better. I think it also sets the stage too of that you are tech savvy and that you're willing to send text messages. And this all helps when you're trying to look for that perfect candidate. And so I do think this gets overlooked a lot as well when I'm doing implementation. Kind of a light bulb goes off and goes, oh yeah, we can use this for recruitment. And yeah, our average applicant, you know, is 24 years old. And those 24-year-olds or even younger are on their phones. And I'll be guilty. I'm way far away from 24, but I'm on my phone all the time as well. So I would love to get text message communications versus email. And then really what's important for everything that we're talking about in regards to occupancy and recruitment and automation is it working? How is the money being spent? Is that driving results for my community? right? That's the bottom line. Gone are the days in senior living, I say this all the time, where we're given a budget and we can kind of take a guess on how that money is performing. I remember when I started my career over 15 years ago in senior living, I was given, you know, a budget for the year and different categories. And I was never really held accountable, or there was no reporting available to see if that money resulted in any move-ins or any new prospects. It was a guessing game. Well, that's long gone now. Post-COVID, as we're all recovering, every single dollar counts. So you have to have the right data and right reports to see what campaigns are working and be willing to make those adjustments as they come in. Revenue reporting is top of mind for everyone here. We need to see what's bringing in the most revenue for us. And if this is tied to your CRM, your rental rates can be directly contributed to your, reflected in your revenue. So how great is that to be able to say, you know, this campaign or these people actually moved in. This is how they heard about us. These are the campaigns they participated in. And this is when they converted. And this is how much revenue I'm going to be obtaining from that. Did you have anything to mention on there, Sean?
Yeah, I was going to say, it's really nice that with the back to earlier slide about the role of the two pieces of software. One is the marketing automation system, and the second being the CRM. Definitely the CRM is where you're capturing the event where somebody moves in. And if you have a very nice integration with the marketing platform, you can literally track it back to the person's first touch on the website. What brought that person to the website as an anonymous visitor, you know, 8 months ago, and making that connection between the very early anonymous buyer journey all the way through to the revenue that is associated with a move-in is only possible if you have a deep integration with the CRM and the marketing platform. Because quite often, if they're independent pieces of software, you know, you will get in broad strokes, you know, inferences as far as what marketing activities are doing stuff. But with the deep integration, you're able to get forecast attribution as well as revenue attribution right in your dashboards.
Exactly. So powerful here to be able to have that information at your community. And then, of course, it takes away the human error aspect too of recording everything in the CRM. So sales and marketing alignment, we can head on there.
And back to that diagram as well with the sales funnel and marketing funnel. It's important to understand that there's people, right? The prospects are people, and there's definitely a lot of people in your organization, you know, all hopefully aligned or trying to align to accelerate the buying process. And it's important to understand that, again, this people element is the two groups of people that I think need to be working much closer together are the marketing team and the sales team. Right, and if we think about the role of marketing, it's really, you know, to make it easier for the folks to sell. And if the sales folks actually are aware of that this marketing team is there and on the same team and working to help, some fantastic synergies can happen, and the prospects, prospective residents, they will see it as a unified community. What the marketing folks are saying and what the sales folks are saying are so aligned that it's actually not just people, it's actually, you know, representative of the community and the community that they're moving their loved one into.
Right. Yeah, and I'll just add a few more comments here on analyzing the journeys here. And really connecting, like Sean said, the sales and marketing teams. Historically in our industry, sales and marketing are working, you know, kind of in two different silos. We have our sales team at the communities who are focused in on building that relationship and converting that person to a resident. But then we also might have our marketing teams on the higher, in the leadership teams, doing things externally, such as digital marketing or marketing automation. That's not always communicated to the sales team. So I remember, I'll tell a quick story. Well, I was a sales and marketing counselor in the beginning of my career. I would have leads coming in, but I didn't really know where they were coming from. Exactly, they might say, oh, I drove by, or I went to your website. But I had a marketing team at the corporate level that was spending a lot of money and a lot of time nurturing these leads, and I didn't get that information back to me. And so it really was a barrier or a problem that I ran across. And when I started learning about automation, a light bulb clicked, because now what happens for those sales teams is we are communicating together. So now if you have that deep integration to your CRM, as we've talked this whole time, if Mrs. Smith is online and she comes to my website and she's entered into a campaign, that sales team is automatically getting those updates in their CRM of what that journey looks like. So is she opening the emails? Is she taking the virtual tour? Did she click the link? I can actually click in and see what email she was sent, so I know what messaging she's receiving, and be able to follow up with her. It's helpful in the fact too that maybe I haven't been able to connect with her via phone yet or in person, but someone that I thought maybe wasn't engaged at all, I now have all of this valuable information. And instead of being a cold lead, she's now maybe a warm or hot lead. Because I think it's safe to say in senior living that nobody's coming to our websites and just clicking around for fun. They're doing their research. This is not retail, so they're not shopping like you would for any other products, really, that I can think of. They're looking for information. They're actively doing research. So being able to connect those two teams together really provides value and really helps that sales and that sales team member at the community level help close that lead, instead of working in silos where we don't really know the external marketing efforts that are happening.
Yeah, so I think it's a case that Jonas is obviously, I think, more on the marketing folks who are much more technically savvy than many of the sales folks. But if we start with that slide that I mentioned a couple of slides ago, is that really the role of marketing is to help people make it easier to sell, right? And that if the sales folks know that the marketers are, that's what's really driving everything, then the two teams can actually work together to brainstorm promotions, leverage the expertise that the salespeople have about what's top of mind for their local community, and marketing can build drip sequences, and really with the input of the marketing folks, they can optimize some of the sales scripts and also see what marketing can do from an automation or sequencing perspective. And I think that's something that's very important. Again, it's two groups of people, is if the sales folks know clearly when it is their responsibility and when they own the dialogue, and as opposed to when the marketing folks own the dialogue, and what tools and what communications are happening with sequencing on behalf of salespeople, they're empowered to, actually spend time building the relationships, and also know that the marketing teams have their backs. So if you have a nice integrated platform in the sales CRM, you can automate a lot of the updates, this type of stuff with sequences. And again, the salespeople, you're not showing them this very complicated sequence diagram, but the marketers know it. Time to set this stuff up. And the end of the day is that one is we got to ensure that our technology is aligned and that the people are all aligned as well, knowing that there's one common goal, is to help their buying decision for example, finding a place for one of their loved ones, and through again the process of marketing and sales engagement. So yeah, the takeaway here, it's really, I think you need to build a a people strategy that involves communication between the sales and marketing teams. And like I know our sales and marketing teams, they literally have a pulse call at minimum every week where they're talking about initiatives, and so they're never surprised when the sales folks are never surprised when communications are going out. And like Krista was mentioning, that being able to, for the salespeople to be able to see literally all the communications that are going on with their prospects is fantastic. So it's also important to get a strategy that you have the right marketing tools and the right sales tools, and that they actually play together nicely. So yeah, that's just wrapping it up. I'll just talk very briefly. So ActiveDEMAND, if you haven't inferred yet, is a marketing automation stack. It's a unique stack in that it is a multi-tenant, and what that means is similar to CRM, a CRM like ElderMark CRM that is, very focused on the individual communities. ActiveDEMAND as well is built in such a way that it enables marketers to rapidly deploy automations across many communities and maintain that connection in the communications to the communities and the individual people who are at the communities, like the sales folks using the CRM. So there's a very deep integration with ElderMark CRM, so that one is a very nice set of tools for the marketers to drive efficiency, and a nice set of tools with the integration with ElderMark for the marketing folks to actually help automate some of the sales processes. Crystal, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think that was great. Sean, thanks for wrapping that up, and thank you so much for having me. This has hopefully been helpful for everyone on the call too.
Yeah, so just in summary here, really, I think we can all agree one challenge that has been common and made much more difficult, definitely in the view of COVID, is driving occupancy has always been a challenge, and it's definitely been more challenging. It's a complex buying process. Just like Crystal said, it's not like going down and buying something off Amazon. This involves people and life-changing decisions for people. So it is a complex buying process. It involves multiple constituents on the buyer side and definitely multiple constituents on the provider side. And I argue that, definitely marketing and sales requires significant effort, and hopefully you've got the message that it requires coordination. And with this added challenge of staffing, right? We're all forced to wear multiple hats. So it's we don't have the people or time to drive the occupancy numbers. We don't have the people or time to actually be at the community and provide the care. So really, hopefully, we've communicated that automation can be the answer to help you. If you have to put effort in, it allows you to reuse that labor. Helps you build trust both on the buyer journey as well as through the recruiting process. And it drives process. I think process is a good thing, right? It allows us to optimize what we're doing, so that I think most people, instead of us just sort of flying by the seat of our pants, we like to know that there's a pattern and where the lines are, so that we know when we're coloring out of the outside of the lines and when we're not, so we can be creative. And hopefully I've communicated as well that automation provides increases consistency in the communications and the level of quality of communications and the timing of the communications. So that's pretty much it. And thank you all for taking the time. And